On the channel today I've got Second Hour's fifth watch. This is called the Saddleberg and it's basically a modern interpretation or a modern take of the field watch. For those who know, a field watch is meant to be versatile, rugged, strong. It's got to be able to perform in the field, as the name suggests, with ease of legibility. And looking at the dial on both the watches, you can see there's quite a few elements going on there. From a 24-hour scale, you've got a sector dial, you've got a date at the 6. And with this blue dial, it seems to change color in different lighting scenarios. Whereas the white one is a full lume dial. So interesting watches, very interesting in what they've done. I think it's modern, it's different. There are some things that I do like about this watch, but there's also a couple little things which really didn't work for me, and I'm going to share that with you guys. And getting stuck straight into the dimensions, you can see the dimensions on paper, the dimensions are excellent. You've got a 40mm watch with a case height of only 9.9mm. I measured that lug to lug of 45.9 and a lug width of 20. The watch also features a signed screw down crown at 5.9mm, and even in this thin profile it manages to maintain 100 meters of water resistance. And the total weight of these watches on the supplied strap comes in at exactly 67 grams. Now you can see on the wrist, the footprint of the watch is good, albeit it's all dial. Even though it's a 40mm watch, the bezel itself is very small and they basically used all the real estate for the dial. Now that's a modern take of a classic field watch, as I feel that even though this wears well on the wrist, it looks bigger. It actually looks bigger than a 40mm because of that ratio. As you can see on the supplied artisan canvas straps, it seems to be sitting quite good, although to be honest, it took a couple of days for that strap to actually wear in. So it was very stiff to start off with, but the break-in period was roughly a day and a half, 2 days on the wrist, and then it settled. And even looking at the white dialed watch, as you can see, although it sits nice on the wrist, there is still a little bit of push-up that doesn't make it sit flush on the wrist because of the stiffness in that strap. I'm sure that over time that will settle. Being the geek that I am, I also tried these watches on generic straps. I like wearing watches on rubber straps, so I put the blue one on a blue rubber strap, just a generic one, and all of a sudden the enjoyment factor for me went up. It sat nice on the wrist, the height was beautiful. I did the exact same thing with the black watch, put that on a black generic rubber strap, again, fantastic. It took, like I said, a couple of days for the canvas straps to wear in, and over time they'll probably get even softer, and by placing both watches on rubber straps, I managed to find the sweet spot on how the watch will fit on the wrist in several weeks from now, as that strap softens over time. Now the canvas strap for me is not my first preference. Although the quality is very, very good, the leather backing, it's oil sealed, I like it, it's softened, but it's not my preference as a strap for this particular watch. And what they've done on both watches, they've supplied it with a nice flexible fabric strap. And as you can see, that's fixed up all the comfort problems. Fantastic. Look how flush that's sitting. So really well done. I'm impressed that they've supplied it with this, because personally, I would have been wearing it on a rubber strap. This, phenomenal. So now the comfort factors come back, and now you can see the modern take on that field watch. It's fun, it's vibrant, really cool. Now one of the things that I marvel about the design is the fact of this profile. It's only 9.9mm thick. You see, we've got a Miyota 9015 in here, an automatic self-winding movement, and that profile is phenomenal. The height of this watch I cannot fault, even that lug to lug, 45.9. From my understanding, looking at this watch, it's got a bit of dressiness to it as well as ruggedness. So the case itself, both cases, they've got 1200 Vickers of surface hardening treatment. So they are designed to be rugged, even though they look nice, and you've got a nice beveled polish to accompany that brushed finish case. It is strong. One's DLC coated, one's 316 stainless steel. I believe they're going to have 4 different colorways offered in these watches. They're called Service Blues, Officer, Gunsmoke, and the Beacon. And the Beacon is their first full lume dial. And I've got to say, legibility wise, that thing is fantastic. See, even though these dials have got the same layout, you've got the same symmetry, handset, for me the white one works really well. The blue one has got a lot more character, however, it seems to lose some of its legibility in differing lighting conditions. Now if we turn the watch over and look at the case back, there's going to be a change in the production version. The production version is going to offer an etched screw down case back. And in doing so, I believe it's going to maintain its 100 meters of water resistance. Now the watches feature a flat sapphire crystal with 6 layers of anti-reflective coating on the underside. I've noticed it's been doing a good job, albeit in the production version I've been told that they're going to be increasing the anti-reflective coating just for added legibility. Now moving over to the lume of both watches, they feature Swiss Superluminova BGW9, and as you can see the DLC coated version is a torch. It glows in the dark, it literally does. I've had both watches on the wrist, and coming outside from the sunshine into a dark environment, the lume dial, it just glows. The blue one, it's good, but being spoiled for choice with that lume dial, there really is no comparison. Lastly, before I talk about the plus and minuses of these watches, let's get on to the price. The colored dials are going to come in at $675, roughly $455 USD, and the full lume DLC case, that's going to come in at $698. So for what I've got in the hand, the finesse of that case, the hardness coating, the fact that they're very thin, they've got a Miyota, I think that's quite decent. Now what are the plus and minuses that I found throughout the week on both watches? Well, first and foremost, because of the amount of elements that are on the dial, that blue one suffered a little bit of legibility issues. And I say the blue one because the white one didn't. See, the contrast on that has been fantastic. I've been able to see that in all lighting scenarios, whereas this particular one here, because of the polished handset, sometimes I might lose it, sometimes I might not. So just bear in mind that although the designs are exactly the same, the colored versions might suffer because of the polished handset. Although I think there's more character in that dial, it's also had me look at the watch twice to get a gauge on the time. Second negative, I like the fact that they're 40mm, but they're all dial. So on the wrist, they do present, they look a little bit bigger. They don't wear bigger, they look bigger on the wrist than a 40mm watch would suggest. Personally, I would have liked a slightly bigger bezel, as I mentioned, with a slightly smaller dial. But again, we are looking at a modern take of that classic field watch. So not too much to complain there. Next negative for me has been that date window. It is a little bit tight. I've struggled to see it on both the watches. It's just that when you get to double digits, the 17th, the 18th, the 20th, you find that it's small. A little bit more gap really would have benefited ease of legibility. Now, what are the positives of both these watches? That height at 9.9 has been really nice. It's a slender watch. It's a thin watch. I enjoyed that. The build on both the watches seems to be on a very, very high level, which has been great. The lume, excellent, especially on the full lume dial. Cannot fault it. It's nice and bright. And the fact that you got a DLC coating and surface hardening treatment on both the watches, 1200 Vickers, that's been fantastic. You can wear it out in the field, pretty much won't see any marks on it in the short term and in the long term. So like I said, the fifth watch from Second Hour, it's the Saddleberg. I will leave all the details in the description. Get on and check them out. Hit me up in the comments, let me know what you think of the watch. Being a modern take on a classic field watch, I think quality wise, they're good. Everything else I believe comes down to personal subjective taste. Thanks again for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts and we'll see you all in the next video.